Hello, and welcome to this week's Come West Along the Road. The mystery accordion player on the new Mown Meadow reel there, with Dublin fiddle player Paddy Glackin and Roscommon flute player Patsy Hanley, was revealed at the end as Joe Burke of Kilnadima, Loughrea, County Galway. Joe has been a wonder of Irish traditional music since he first came to national attention in the 1950s, and recorded for Gael Lynn what may have been the last Irish traditional 78. He's still going strong as a popular player and as a teacher, and recently he brought out, with his wife Anne Conroy Burke, a new tutor book and demonstration CDs for learners. On the Pure Drop in the Pearse Museum in January 1992, Joe was also in conversation with Paddy Glackin about his early days in céilí bands.
The céilí bands years ago used to be a fairly serious job, Joe, isn't it?
Yeah, there was a lot of interest in it.
There was.
Yeah, a lot of interest.
A lot of attention to it. Like the bands took it very, very seriously, didn't they?
Oh, they did, of course. Well, bands represented localities and areas of the country, and it turned out to be a bit like the hurling championship.
That's right. It was the musical version of the hurling championship.
It was the music, and then it was the loyalty to the particular area, and glory for the area.
Of course.
Yeah.
And, well, as you say, you played at the Leitrim céilí band.
Yeah.
Who else was that a band based in Loughrea, was it?
That was a band based around Loughrea. Most of them came from, although there was no one from Loughrea on it, but I hope I'm remembering now. But we had a lot of great musicians, people like Paddy Carter, you know, and Tony Malloy and Ambrose Maloney, three great flute players, and Paddy Dory, he's still going strong. I met him the other night. And fiddle players, Michael Jarduli, he's dead now. And I couldn't.
Yeah.
The people changed again.
It was. I remember talking to Sean Kane of the Chieftains about it once, and we did say that it was particularly serious. And the practice you would actually do for the competitions, or indeed even coming up to a céilí or something, a special event.
Yeah.
I mean, it was quite a professional approach, even though you weren't getting paid anywhere near professional rates.
Well, professional rates were not as high as they are now.
Oh, well, no, but...
A pound a night was not too bad, and then it went to 30 bob.
Right.
Yeah.
Big money. Anyway, listen, will you play us a few reels?
It was good fun, though.
It was.
Yeah.
Give us another few tunes there.
I'll play a couple of reels now, Paddy. The first one is called The Duke of Leinster's Wife, and the second one is called Paddy Murphy's Wife.
Oh. Where you going? Come on. Hanley, if I were to ask you who's had the biggest influence on your music, who would you, one person, if you take one name?
I'll tell you now without any hesitation, the recordings that were made by Paddy O'Brien of Nina. In the old days, he made 3 records around 1953, and it was he was the first great exponent on record of this system, of the B&C accordion system. And of course, he played a lot around my part of the country, and he associated himself a lot with the Ockram Slope Scaly Band, and he got a lot of music from a fiddle player in Ockram called Paddy Kelly. And of course, he had the biggest influence. And of course, there was a couple more then, like Kevin Keegan and people like that, that came along a bit later, and they were all very good. And I, to this day, I can remember their playing and feel sort of very close to it, you know.
I detect a certain influence of the fiddle on your playing.
Well, you could, Paddy, because I must say that of all the instruments, I think I got more interested in the fiddle music. For some reason or other, I got very interested in listening to all the fiddle players, and I felt they had a lot to give, and I had a lot to learn.
You're devoting some of your time between Ireland and America now these days, is it?
Yes, Paddy. Well, I moved back from America. I spent about 17 years there, and I just moved back now. But I'll be going back on visits and to play a bit of music twice a year.
What would you say is the main difference between the music scene here and America?
Well, the response is a bit different. The people are very enthusiastic now in America, and you meet some great people that love the music for the right reason, and then you meet a lot of people that like it for its excitement and maybe not for the music itself that much, but they like what it involves, I suppose. But here is more enjoyable playing here because, well, this is the source of it, and I suppose people respond to it as a kind of a natural thing.
And finally, on this segment of our programme, Joe Burke played some hornpipes, which he introduces himself.
The first one is called Fly By Night. It was a tune that I learned and heard a lot when I first went to America about 31 years ago, and it was played by all the fiddle players around at that time. And the second tune then is a hornpipe we call it the Shaskeen hornpipe. And that was very popular in East Galway around in the 50s. And I think it's called the Shaskeen because it sounds a little bit like the Shaskeen reel.
Right, well, away you go.
Joe Burke on the Pure Drop in 1992. From a veteran of Irish traditional music, we move to a young Monaghan girl who had just recently completed her ridge cert when she appeared there on the BB Show in February 1990. Sorcha MacColl was, however, a bit of a veteran herself at the time, as she had by then won the World Irish Dancing Championships 3 times in a row. To music by Brian McGrath, Cathal, Hayden, and I think Gerry O'Connor, this is how she did it. Monaghan dancer Sorcha MacColl in 1990. From music and dance, we turn now to song, and to a classmate of my own from St. Joseph's CBS Drogheda back in the 1960s. Sean Corcoran has become well known to the enlightened since those days as a traditional song collector and singer, and on the Pure Drop in March 1992, he was in conversation about these pursuits with Paddy Glackin.
Well, now I want to introduce you to a man I first met 20 years ago. I think it's 20 years ago anyway. But we've been around together a bit around for the last couple of years. Sean Corcoran, you're still collecting?
I'm still trying to collect my wits together, Paddy, yeah. Is it 20 years, as long ago as that? I suppose it may be, yeah.
1972, I think, was the first one you mentioned.
Yes. Probably in Slattery's, was it?
It was.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Slattery's. Well, I really got involved in this whole thing, collecting songs, mainly interested in singing in my hometown of Drogheda. I suppose really, if the revival hadn't happened, I would have not been interested in music like this at all, you know. It's happened like that to most people. Most of us have, you know, my grandmother was from Crossakeel, North Meath. She was a fiddle player. She played the concertina. I can remember her sitting there turning on Din Joe and Cayley House, you know, and not being really interested in that kind of carry on at all. But suddenly, when I was about 16, this music became fashionable. And so we all got involved. Much the same as nowadays, the Irish language, once again among kids of that age, is now fashionable. It's cool to be involved in these things.
Well, since then, you know, you were on Brendan Brannock's first pilot collecting scheme, I think.
Yeah, I began recording songs around home. In fact, the year I was doing my leaving cert, I spent half my time studying and half the time out recording, hunting out singers. And I came across Brendan Brannock, who was editing a magazine called MacColl at the time, one of the most important magazines, in fact, ever, I think, in Irish music, a magazine called MacColl. And Brannock thought that the song should be collected. He had to be honest, he had no personally great interest at all himself in English language songs. He just thought they should be collected. And we had a wee pilot scheme set up to collect in County Louth because I knew the area. And we thought that we'd sort of do Louth very quick in a few weeks, that there wasn't too many songs left there, East Coast County, and we'd move on to the west where it'd be richer. And after 3 months later, with hundreds of songs from County Louth, the scheme petered out. And so I began from there, and later I worked for the, as I do now, for the Arts Council of Northern Ireland at the same thing, collecting mainly songs, but also traditional music.
But Sean Corcoran is best known as a singer. He's been a member of the Press Gang and is a member of Cran with Jesse Wilkinson and Ronan Brown. And of course, he's well able to sing solo, as here.
Yeah, this is a song I got from a great singer called Jimmy Halpin from Newton Butler in South Fermanagh. A very fine singer. He chorused, as they say it up there, that means sing in unison, along with his father. But this is one of his favourite songs. It's about going to Scotland to work. And in fact, himself and his father used to go to Scotland every winter to work, oddly enough, not on farms, but actually in the mines, and come back and farm their own places during the summer. So, I've just come o'er from Erin shore to see how trade was going here. Like many a rambling Irishman, I was forced to leave my home. I left my sweet Dungannon boys, where I spent my youthful days, where I whistle, fought and wrestle in the county of Tyrone. Now the landlord and the times were bad, to reap the harvest off I went. When I saw my birthplace level, sure I could no longer stay. Then with my switch and a reaping hook, I gave the sun a farewell look, and rambled o'er to Scotland for to reap and mow the hay. Well, I scarce had landed in this place when I got employment there and then. Oh, to reap a field of barley with about a dozen more. And there were lads from Leeds and Lancashire, from Birmingham and London town. Oh, but I thought my heart was breaking when I thought on Erin shore. And then breakfast time came round at last, and every man threw down his hook, and went up to the barn for to have his morning meal. I had no money, I had no grub, to get them both it was a job. But I thought it better to work and fast than to rob and go to jail. And these thoughts had scarcely crossed my brow when the farmer shouted pat aloud. Come on up, man, and eat your fill, for I know you're far from home. far from your own little shamrock and shore. Come, eat your fill and say no more. And stay with me a week or two while we're putting in the hay. Now his only housemaid was his niece, a wee Scots lass about 16. She was neat and tall and comely, and her eyes shone like the star. Her father was a soldier bold that ever did a rifle hold. Oh, but he lost his heart's blood fighting in the 1914 war. So it's as we say in Ireland, we'll gather up and have a dance. And I'll tell her pleasant stories of the Green Isle far away. So we went and got the old boys' consent, straight to the clergy, and we went. And when the sun was shining, boys, sure we were drinking tea. So I think I'll go back to Ireland. I'd love to see the old spot again. For it's now I sing the beauties of that Green Isle far away. I will take my Scots lass along with me. I'll dandle her youngster on my knee. And once a year I'll Scotland see when we go to mow the hay.
Lovely. Okay.
Well, still to come tonight here on RT1, Michael Bublé provides the soundtrack for The Late Late Show at 9:35. Then tomorrow night, Twink and Samantha Mumba talk about their experiences of the music industry on the Saturday night show at 10 o'clock. Next tonight, Reading in the Ears.